Trying to close out the Pistons, Cleveland stunned Detroit in Game 5 to take a 3-2 series lead. The Cavs scored the final 9 points to force OT and then pulled away. James Harden came up big in Cleveland's first road win of the postseason. Now it's back home where the Cavs are 6-0, and that is where we find our NBA reporter Jamal Collier on the scene in Cleveland. So Cavs star Donovan Mitchell one win away from the first conference finals of his career. What is Spida saying about accomplishing that tonight?
Yeah, Christine, he's trying not to get too far ahead of himself because even being up 3-2, he acknowledged they haven't actually accomplished anything yet. But he also said, look, he is human, and this is what this Cavs team has been working for, and Mitchell's been talking about really since last year in that disappointment in the Indiana series. It's why this team went out and made the moves they made at the trade deadline, bringing in Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, and of course James Harden to be a co-star next to Mitchell. And they really praised Harden for, despite all the playoff woes that he has, for just being like a calming presence and adding poise next to Mitchell. And Donovan said it, that it's been 9 times in his career. He's been to the playoffs all 9 years of his career and never gotten past this round. But him and Kenny Atkinson both agree, while this is an opportunity for them, they also have to have appropriate fear of this Pistons team because of what they did last round against Orlando.
You mentioned what they did against Orlando. Detroit facing elimination for the 4th time in these playoffs. What lessons are the Pistons applying from their first round 3-1 series comeback against Orlando?
Yeah, backs against the wall is kind of a place this team has been pretty comfortable in. And Cade Cunningham said, like, it boils down to the fact that that last round gave us perspective. All you have to do in this Game 6 is win a road game. And that's something this team has done before. It's something this team feels confident in their ability to do. And they can win this Game 6, get it back to Game 7 on the road, at home in Detroit. They still feel very confident about their chances. Jimmy Bickerstaff, though, a few moments ago during pregame, he took it even further back in that first round. He went to 22 years ago when this team won 14 games. They had that historic losing streak. And he said that really built our confidence, our trust, our belief in each other. That's why I would expect this team to not make a lineup adjustment to their starting lineup here, despite the struggles to Jalen Duren, to Asar Thompson. JB kind of doubled down and said, we are trying to build for the long term and build a culture. And what does it say about us if we go away from guys just because they are struggling? They know they're going to need more from Duren, more from Asar, and more to get help from Cade, and they're going to double down on the guys that have brought him here to hope to lead them past this road game in Game 6.
Yeah, Cade Cunningham coming off a 39-point performance in Game 5 where he hit 6 3-pointers. We see, I believe, James Harden there warming up behind you. What is he saying about possibly getting to another conference finals?
Well, look, this is why James was brought into this situation, and he said it's still been a learning curve for him, right, of figuring out how to play next to a star like Mitchell, figuring out when to be aggressive. And we saw it in the game, the other night where Mitchell did not have a great shooting performance, and Harden really picked up the slack for him. And late in Game 3, Harden sort of found ways to be aggressive. And he's still sort of finding ways to mix in his spots and learn about this team. And he said it's not always going to look pretty. It's not always going to be as smooth as maybe we expected. But the Cavs have a lot of confidence in Harden. They have a lot of belief in the work that he puts in. And Christine, Harden, at this moment with Mitchell, they've just been kind of kindred spirits in knowing that they were brought together to lead this organization. They haven't been to a conference finals without LeBron since the 90s, and they believe that moment could start tonight.
Yeah, it's certainly been a lot of fun. Possible closeout game in the NBA. Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs can send the Wolves packing in Game 6 in Minneapolis. The big man bounced back from his Game 4 ejection with 27 points and 17 boards in a 29-point Game 5 rout. Minnesota had no answer for Wemby. On the scene in Minneapolis is our NBA reporter Michael C. Wright covering the Spurs. So, Michael, what can we expect from this Spurs team as they look to close out this series in Minnesota?
Well, obviously, this is a young Spurs team, and this is their second closeout opportunity of these playoffs. Now, De'Aaron Fox said that if they've learned anything from that first series against Portland, it's that they can expect one of 2 teams to enter this game. One that's desperate, and the second one is a team that's ready for its season to end. De'Aaron Fox is expecting the former. This is a very experienced Minnesota Timberwolves team, and Fox pointed out that they've been to the conference finals 2 years in a row. And he said that the Wolves believe they can still win this series, especially now that Anthony Edwards, he's had a couple days to rest since playing in Game 5. So they're bracing for a big effort from Ant-Man tonight.
Okay, so we haven't seen Wemby play in Minnesota since his ejection in Game 4. So what are his teammates saying about him being back at the Target Center?
Well, first off, Victor Wembanyama has moved on. We tried to talk to him about that after Game 5, and he was not touching it. The only thing he said was that I've got to keep my composure for my teammates. Now, De'Aaron Fox was asked if we're expecting a upset Victor Wembanyama. And Fox said, no, we don't even need that from him. We just need Vic to be who he is. And who is Vic? He's a guy that probably has the most gravity offensively of any player in the NBA. And on the defensive end, he's probably the best defender in the NBA. So De'Aaron Fox said that they're expecting that Vic will get some boos, but he was like, we don't care. We're here to win a game.
Yeah, he's had 25 points and 15 rebounds twice this series. The rest of the NBA combined has done it twice this postseason. Michael C. Wright, live from Minneapolis. Thank you. Victor Wembanyama seems to have all the answers for the Timberwolves offense. Wemby has 22 blocks to the Timberwolves' 19 made field goals in this series when he contests their shots. Minnesota scored just 9 points on 4 of 17 shooting when Wemby contested their shots in Game 5. Also on the scene in Minneapolis, we bring in reporter Myron Metcalf covering the Wolves. So, Myron, what are you hearing about the T-Wolves locker room ahead from an elimination game?
Well, I can tell you that they were bumping Drake's Iceman album before practice, and they don't think they're going to freeze tonight. Mike Conley said that they are on red alert going into this game, and he said they have the experience to respond. He said no one has to explain the stakes to them because they've been here before. They don't like the feeling that they had when they were down 30-plus in Game 5. And they said they know that this is a team that has to bounce back in front of a home crowd. So this isn't about anyone telling them or explaining to them the stakes. The Timberwolves said they're ready to bounce back in Game 6.
I don't know if I would bump Drake now that I'm thinking about it before I'm trying to get a win, because we already know what he does to teams. But we'll see if that works in their favor. What are players saying about what adjustments they need to do to keep their season alive?
Well, both Mike Conley and I would assume have said that they have to really help Anthony Edwards out when he is trapped, doubled, blitzed. They said they have to be available to score, put themselves in scoring positions when the Spurs apply that pressure to him, even though the defensive presence of Wemby makes that difficult. But he said they have to give him the support that he needs and not stall that offense when the Spurs apply that defensive pressure.
All right, the Timberwolves have a 1-3 series record when trailing 3-2, so we'll see if they are.
RC. All right. We are back, and here we go, Windman. Hembo is coming for you. Who is the youngest player to appear in, thus had to have actually played, 3 consecutive NBA Conference Finals?
Yeah, consecutive is a tough part. So you're talking about a guy that walks right into basically a big-time contender. So I thought Tim Duncan, but he played 4 years at Wake. I think Kobe Bryant, they had the three-peat early in his career. I'm going to say Kobe Bryant.
Oh, you were so close. You had it going the first time. It was the Spurs. It's Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard made it to the conference finals when he was 20.
Didn't even think of it. You got me, Hembo.
And 22. That's a good one from Hembo. That's a good question there. We'll see if Wembanyama can make his first tonight. Let's do Hitting the Mark, brought to you by DraftKings. Looking at tonight's games. Here we go, Monica McNutt. We start with the Pistons. You like Cade Cunningham to go over 28 points. Talk to me.
Yeah, I don't think this series is over. Cade is coming off of a 39-point performance. He is the centerpiece. He obviously has to play well for these Pistons to respond as a team. I think they got to support him tonight, but I do think the Pistons are going to even this thing up.
On the other side, you have Donovan Mitchell going over 4 assists.
You know, Greedy, this was actually a challenge on what I wanted to take because of the up-and-down nature of the scoring for Mitchell so far in this postseason. But what I do know is that the Cavs supporting cast has been really big, whether it's Strus, Mobley, Schroeder, etc. So I'm going with the assists over the points for Mitchell.
And then the late game tonight, you like Anthony Edwards, the over on 27 points. They need him to get going.
Yeah, I mean, we can't keep talking about this guy as the likeness of Michael Jordan, shout out to Wilbon, and he not show up tonight. Like, this is a must if the Wolves are going to keep this thing alive, which I think they will. To Jay's point, I think he goes on the block, mixes it up in terms of how he gets it done, but finds a way to get it done.
So if those are the picks and you like them, we've made them a parlay. Cade Cunningham, the over on points, Donovan Mitchell on assists, and Anthony Edwards over on points. It's a parlay at DraftKings Sportsbook with odds of plus 505. Let's just touch on that game quickly because there's one other thing I want to sneak in here. But the Anthony Edwards of it all. Brian Windhorst, you were making the point earlier, for those just joining us, the way they have defended him has been the key for San Antonio in their wins.
Yeah, the Wolves need Ant Edwards to go over on shots because the Spurs have been trying to keep him from even getting the ball. When he brings the ball up across the court, like you see here, they've been doubling him. And the chess match that's developed the last couple of games is how they're doubling him and denying him even when he's off the ball. In games 3 and 4, Greeny, when he averaged 34 points, he got 24 shots average in those games. Last game, game 6, game 5, pivotal game in this series, he gets just 13 shots and 20 points. The ball's got to get to Ant Edwards. That's the chess match we're going to watch tonight.
And then on the other side, there's the chess match of it all, and then there's the brute force, the physical piece of it. And do you expect the Timberwolves to do what they really didn't do in Game 5, and that is be physical with Wembanyama in the wake of the elbow thing?
Yeah, look, this is part of the gamesmanship, and I'm not talking about tic-tac fouls.
Yeah.
I'm talking about you have to make your presence known with him. P.J. Tucker was in here the other day, and we were talking about how you would guard a guy like Wemby. When a shot goes up, I don't need to look at the ball. I'm face guarding you. I'm face guarding you. I'm in your body. I'm lowered to the ground. I think there's certain players like Naz Reid or Julius Randle that have the body size and the sturdiness with their frame to get up in him and push him off his spot. There should be not one possession where he doesn't feel my body on him all the time.
I think if you're a Minnesota fan, you're going to wear a lung out booing him tonight.
Yes.
So I'll be very interested to see how he handles that, really being the enemy in that building. Should be a very interesting Game 6. Meanwhile, speaking of interesting, I really want you to hear this sound off. So yesterday there was a new episode of the Game vs. Game podcast with Breanna Stewart. And her guest was Milwaukee Bucks forward Miles Turner. And he had really interesting comments about how things were handled inside the Bucks locker room this year with Giannis under Doc Rivers. Just listen to this.
So Doc Rivers, he didn't find anybody, ever. So guys were late all the time. Guys were, showing up to film whenever they wanted to show up. Guys were missing meetings. Like, it was one of the craziest things I personally ever experienced.
So who's the teammate that's most likely to be late?
That's easy. Giannis. Giannis is going to show up whenever he wants, really, I think that it's kind of just came with the territory at that. And once I kind of saw what was going down, I was like, hey, man, more power to you. They ain't going to find you. Do what you do.
That just kind of jumped out at us. You were the one who brought that to my attention this morning. What was your reaction to it?
Well, I mean, the first reaction is think about it's so unfortunate that Doc Rivers didn't have control over his organization. But I thought that was a bigger indictment on Giannis, frankly. And look, Michael Jordan was terrifying. Kobe was obsessive. But you never questioned with them? You never questioned what the standard was. You never questioned that. And as soon as fear enters leadership, then your culture dies. And it feels like, Doc Rivers didn't control. Why didn't Giannis try to control what he could control? That was a big takeaway for me.
I agree. There's also the piece of it, Wendy, where I don't know exactly when he's talking about, but by the end of the season, Giannis and the organization were so at odds. He wanted to play. They weren't letting him play.
I'm going to lead through adversity. It doesn't matter. I know the coaching staff, whatever it is, I still have my teammates.
What did you take away from those comments, Wendy?
Well, first off, Miles Turner, he had enough about midway through this season, and he was starting to chirp about this. He obviously came over from a very successful Pacers organization, and he was not happy. And so this is revelatory, but I'm not surprised it's Miles who said it. And I thought the reaction was interesting. Later in that discussion was Breanna Stewart, who said, in the WNBA, we get fined if we don't box out on a free throw, much less showing up, multiple hours late for a plane. So, that is, frankly, the way this whole thing has gone should be a warning call. Giannis is at a crucial point in his career right now, crucial. And the next decisions that he makes, not only with where he decides to play, but also how he decides to approach next season, are vitally important. And this should be something that he pays very close attention to.
McNutt.
This is why, Greeny, for me, I continue to say, as all the noise percolated about Giannis, quite frankly, in New York, chemistry is such a delicate thing. And I felt, and I'm glad it has panned out well, that this New York Knicks group deserved an opportunity to try to run it back with that core that we have relied on that has allowed them to have this unprecedented statistical run, if you will, winning 7 straight. But when you add a superstar, you just got to know that superstars come with superstar things. Like, can you absorb that or not?
That whole thing, it just didn't sound good. And it'll be interesting to see what some of the response is. Oh, by the way, a reminder, on DraftKings Sportsbook, all customers can get a profit boost every day of the NBA playoffs. Download the app, use the promo